From the Figure 4 Online Studios in beautiful Bothell, Washington, exclusively at WrestlingObserver.com, you're listening to The Bryan and Vinny Show with your hosts, Bryan Alvarez and Big Vinny V.
All right. It is the Bryan, Vinny, and Craig show here. October 8, 2019. Figure4online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. Retro Raw and Nitro 19 years ago this week. Both shows better than Hell in a Cell.
Indeed.
Yeah, including Nitro, which had a I can't say an equally stupid main event, but it was a really stupid main event. But actually, as stupid as it was not as stupid as the Hell in a Cell main event, which is pretty impressive, actually. So before we get into this, obviously the big news today is Vinny is frantically searching for what we talk about at the beginning of every Tuesday show.
I always forget.
Is the fantasy football gimmick here. It was Rob's big chance.
That's true. It's not even, my game doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was Rob's big chance to attempt to beat Mike Sempervive and win back his fantasy football championship. I have a feeling he failed, but I can tell by the look on his face there may be more to the story. What happened, Rob?
What happened is, as much as it pains me to say this, Bryan, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
My pro football team let me down. My fantasy football team let me down. Fuck everyone.
Excuse me, it's everyone else's fault?
Yes, because I played the best possible lineup I could have played, and my shitty players did not come through for me.
What do you make of this, Vinny?
Well, I'm looking at the scores here. I was aware that I had lost to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I was not aware that I would have beaten literally every other player in the league this week.
Wow.
That blows.
You would have beaten everybody else, but you still got beat?
Yes.
Wow, that guy was the best then.
He was the very
Mr.
best.
Rogers' Neighborhood was the...
Ryan Frederick.
Our Fred, the superior player.
And he only had 3 good players. I won't get into it. But.
Oh, man. I hope you're all embarrassed.
Vinny is the first loser.
So Rob does not win his championship back. Where did I put it?
It's right
It's
there.
right there. Yeah. So that's going to stay here. So what does that mean? Like at some point, who's the champion? Sempervive?
Yes.
So you're never going to face Sempervive again?
Not necessarily.
It's very
I have to go through
unlikely.
the schedule, because I think we're in
Okay.
the same division, so there's a chance.
All right. So somebody has to beat Sempervive, and then you have to play that person.
That's
That's what has to happen. Okay. What do we got? What's the lineup next week, Vinny?
Looking at it right now, Mike Sempervive faces Josh Nason's team, the Dirt Sheets. Sempervive is undefeated. Nason is 2-3.
2-3.
Clear underdog.
I'll say. Been like that his whole life.
Wow.
So that's the big match next week, Mike Sempervive versus Josh Nason.
That's the title match, yes.
What a main event.
And then 2 weeks after that, Nason plays me.
So you can win the title back.
Could regain it.
Wow.
There, yeah.
Look at that.
But the current champion, of course, is Sempervive. He plays.
Is it 3 weeks in a row he's been the champion?
2.
2 weeks? Yeah. Okay.
So he faces Nason this week.
So it'll be 3 weeks.
Week after that is Filthy Tom Lawler. Week after that is Antonio the Promise Thomas.
Filthy could be in studio and get the title.
Sempervive has to face... That's right. If he wins and he comes up here for Defy, he could take the title, Rob. That's been the deal. If they show up, they get to take that belt. My God, what timing.
Right.
This is so much better than WWE booking. It is like totally just randomly happening. Yeah. I can't even believe
That
it.
gives me a little consolation that I have guaranteed win week against Filthy this week, then.
You better do some praying, Rob. That's all I got to say.
There are still many weeks to go.
There are many weeks to go.
It goes 13 weeks plus playoffs.
Okay, so what's that, 4 weeks of playoffs?
Only 2.
2 weeks? So 15 weeks, and we've gone, 4 weeks? I got time, Rob.
5 weeks.
5 weeks? Okay.
This was week 5.
10 weeks left. Man. All right, well, there you go. Nice try, Rob. Better luck next time, buddy.
That's the story of my life, Bryan.
Better luck next time. All right, let's
At
get...
least the show's recording properly. So.
Yeah, but your mic's not on.
Well.
So, story of your life. All right, let's get going here, everyone. It's not, Rob, it's not the show's recording, it's the audio recording.
Everything-
That's the issue this week. Don't look at me like that.
No,
Did it get screwed up last
I didn't want
time?
to talk if I wasn't on. So.
Okay, well, you're on now.
Okay, thank you.
I'm chastising you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, everything is on. The audio is
Okay.
on. The video is on.
Okay.
Red light's on.
All right.
We're good.
All right. Let's go, Vinny.
WWF Monday Night Raw, October 9th of the year 2000. So from SmackDown, we learn that Hunter no longer wants Stephanie at ringside, but Kurt Angle does. And she says she'll think about it. All right, how long is this Kurt, Hunter, Steph thing going?
I hope it ends forever. Soon.
Yes, because...
It sucks now.
Yes, exactly. Now it's just on the treadmill. They're just going back...
Yeah, it's like somebody put a kibosh on it.
They cut it off, and it seemed to end. Now they keep going. It's dumb. Also, Mick Foley suspended Steve Austin indefinitely, so Austin gave him one chance to reconsider. Foley did not reconsider. You'll never guess what happened next. This brings us to
They
Raw.
shook hands. Left cordially.
Yes, Brian.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen. On Raw, Foley comes out for a promo.
Before I get into it, I just got to bring this up before I forget. So I mentioned problems with the WWE Network a lot, very often here, and I know that everybody there is trying their best. So I try not to be really mean about it. So I'm just going to try to. I feel like if I tell you what my problems are, maybe it can be fixed. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to know if anybody else is having this problem. So the two problems this week. Does anybody else have the issue where when you skip forward 15 seconds, all of a sudden there's no audio? Am I the only one?
Not that, but if I pause, the audio goes away. And if I pause for more than like 5 seconds, I have to refresh the page.
Yes. I have that as well.
Yeah.
Well, on Apple TV, if I try to skip forward during an entrance, when I stop hitting the button, there's no audio. And then I have to skip back, and then there's audio. So I have to skip forward past where I want to go and then go backwards to get the audio back.
Okay, if you're on your Mac, when I watch it on my Mac, if I do that, it automatically hits the mute button and I have to unmute it.
This is Apple TV. There is no mute button.
So Mac and Apple TV are completely different.
Well, no, but Apple TV, there's no mute button.
I got
There's no mute button on here. There's no button that says mute. So I'm not accidentally hitting a button. It just goes forward, and it doesn't do it every time. So it's not that. It's like 7 times out of 10, it does it. And also, when you try to watch a pay-per-view, when the pay-per-view is live, but then you want to skip back and forth.
Yep.
This is a disaster. Vinny and I are watching the show on the live stream, and something happened, and I just wanted to skip back just 15 seconds to find out what happened, and it booted me all the way back to the beginning of the show.
That's a no-no.
How many times did this happen, Vinny? On Sunday?
Many.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
So those are the issues this week. I politely ask that maybe in the next version of the WWE Network, these can be remedied. It would really make me happy.
Well, I will counterbalance this, Brian, by saying good things about the WWE Network and good changes.
It exists.
Because, well, it does, Brian.
Yes.
And it's better this week than it was for me last week. Because when I loaded up Raw, usually there's like you go to Raw, and the little thing comes up, the longest running, blah, 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 blah. You got to select the year and then scroll through and get your show.
Yes.
When I loaded up Raw, right at the very top, it loaded up October 9th of the year 2000.
Because you watched the last one.
It remembered the last episode
Wow.
I watched and went to the next one. And did the same thing for Nitro.
I'll do you one better than that.
Mine didn't do that.
My continue watching feature is back.
Hey. Yeah, I've had that for...
That's infuriating, because my continue watching feature is not back.
Oh.
It just doesn't exist on the Apple TV anymore.
see.
And when it does show up randomly every now and then, it shows one thing.
That's the thing you watched like 3
What
years
you
ago.
just watched. No, like if I watch Nitro and then Raw and then Superstars, continue watching will only be Superstars. It only remembers the very last thing that I watched. It used to remember like everything that I'd watched.
Yes.
All right, now we can go.
So on Raw here in the year 2000, Mick Foley comes out for a promo, brings out what he describes as my fellow broken down, washed up wrestler Shawn Michaels.
You know how funny that was in 2019?
That was hysterical, actually. So Shawn denies running down Steve Austin, also denies he would have a motive. Foley then showed the clip from WrestleMania of Steve Austin beating Shawn Michaels for the title and said his best match was Mind Games with Shawn Michaels was forgotten. And people have forgotten all of Michaels' great matches, forgotten how he got out of his hospital bed to pass the torch to Steve Austin at WrestleMania.
He says, if I had passed the torch to Steve Austin and he flipped me off afterwards, I'd have run that son of a bitch over myself.
Yes. He says everyone's forgotten about Michaels. Now they're all cashing in on his hard work. And finally, Michaels denies it again, but I know who... Did he say I know who did it or who would benefit? He accused The Rock.
He said, I know who benefit.
The Rock is the one who ran Steve Austin over. Lena versus Jacqueline in a hardcore match.
To be fair, he said, I might know who it is.
I see.
Because he was trying to figure the one guy that loved the spotlight more than he did. And it was The Rock.
So I am as over hardcore wrestling for the women as I am for the men.
Yeah, but Vinny, have
will
you
say-
seen Lita wrestle?
Touche.
This was so much better with them just hitting each other with stuff and falling off ladders.
And I will add, they had at least some storyline to this, which is Jackie tried to get a fire extinguisher. She couldn't figure out how to get it to work. So she gave up and did something else. But then Lita got the fire extinguisher, and she figured it out, and she sprayed extinguisher in her face and bonked her with a cookie sheet and pinned her.
Yeah, you have to pull the pin on those.
Yes.
There was a blow dryer in the ring, like a hair blow dryer, and Jackie just hit her in the head with it.
We're going to do plug it in.
It's a hair dryer, Vinny. It's not a cookie sheet.
It hurt. I don't want you to hit me with
Should
a
I
hairdryer,
go
Greg.
get a blow dryer?
I'm just saying.
We could take turns hitting you with it.
It wasn't a trash can lid. It's something that gave. It's a hair dryer.
Well,
cookie-
maybe she was going to bring a trough of water in with it.
A cookie sheet is a broad, flat surface. And you hit him in the head with it, it'll bend.
Right. A hair dryer does not.
Exactly.
That would hurt.
Okay, so that's the point you're making.
Yes.
What?
I thought you were saying it's a dumb weapon because it wouldn't hurt.
Never mind. Move on, Vinny. We're having a lack of communication here this evening.
I'll say, was there a giant mallet to skewer somebody
There was
with?
not.
Now, there's some giant things in the next segment, though, because
China met with Deborah.
China
They almost needed a split screen.
They're very, very happy to see each other. They have a big hug, and Deborah separates China's hair to look at the Playboy shirt she's wearing and says, "What is this?" And China does not say it's a Playboy shirt. China says, quote, "a big set of boobs."
Well,
She's not wrong. They talk about Deborah's honeymoon. It was later made patently obvious she married Steve Austin now. And Deborah's looking for Foley. China's looking for Eddie.
So it took me like most of the show to figure this out, but Foley interviewed every blonde person on the roster on the show.
Yes.
It wasn't just a bunch of random geeks.
so-and-so was Mr. Ass, so they saw a blonde
It's like
driver.
one guy said it was a blonde.
Last week.
And so like that's like his evidence. I must interview every blonde. There's no chance that there was a mistake.
yeah, nobody dyes their hair.
Foley's detective work on this show is
Hideous.
baffling.
Yeah.
Hideous.
Inspector Clouseau could have done a better job.
Not just this show.
But yet it worked.
Every time he does an
That's the
investigation.
amazing part.
That's true.
Every time he does an investigation, it's terrible.
Maybe he's Inspector Gadget and Penny and Brain were actually doing all the work for him. That would make more sense than what actually happened. So,
May I talk about Foley, what he said to Deborah? Foley meets with Deborah, okay? Now, before I even go into this, Mick Foley is supposed to be a babyface. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
he's a baby face, but he's also the foil for Austin. He is the authority figure.
He says, I know you're not happy about what happened with Stone Cold. He suspended him. But I'm going to give you some news. And you know what? This is going to make Steve Austin feel better. He says, it was really terrible. It was horrible that Steve Austin got run over. But when he got run down, there were some positive things that came out of it. For example, he needed somebody to take care of him. How was your wedding, he says. He says, Austin was on the road 250 days a year. And I want to know if you hated that life enough to do something about it. I was like, what?
That's a stretch.
Wow.
Crap against the wall, Brian.
You called her into the office and accused her of running over her husband?
Flew her in, Brian.
Flew her in to accuse her of running over her husband?
Yes.
You loved him so much you tried to kill him so he wouldn't go on the road?
That's convoluted.
My wife watches Snap. This is easily believable for me. I've
Dude,
seen much crazier things than this.
she cut a promo on him and she stormed out. And I was like, what a bastard that Mick Foley is. That's all I could think.
And for those of you keeping track, Foley's office was the laundry room this week.
Yes.
An office is an office.
I guess.
Wherever the commissioner is the commissioner's office. Hunter is outraged at that bastard Mick Foley, who was booked into
Hey,
team.
he was right today.
He was booked into team.
Sometimes he says that. I'm like, that's not very nice. But today, that guy was a bastard. I can't believe what he said to Deborah.
Hunter is teaming with his hated rival Chris Jericho against his friend X-Pac, and the only upside is he'll be able to get his hands on X-Pac's partner Chris Benoit.
Why was this match made? What in God's name is going on?
To stick two random singles feuds together and make a tag match. Stephanie pleads her case to be at ringside. Hunter still says no.
But I'm happy, he said, you made the right business decision to not accompany Kurt Angle to the ring on a permanent basis. What? We miss so much not watching SmackDown. I don't know what's going on.
We do, and yet I do not care. So I don't feel like I missed anything. Linda's limousine arrives backstage. And
Another blonde.
Yes, and then we see her having a chat with Mick.
Maybe you killed Steve Austin.
He didn't kill him.
Did anyone ask Test? Has he been asked yet?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember that.
I don't recall.
Maybe it happened on SmackDown.
All right, I'm not making this next segment up.
Oh my God.
Steve Blackman, the WWF Hardcore Champion, and Raven, the ECW icon, faced off in a regular rules match. So
It sucked.
Raven does.
Could they have botched any more spots in this match?
Raven did the ugliest dive ever, where I was not concerned if anyone was actually hurt. He at least landed on his feet, but he just launches his body all cattywampus and
Dude, that's the
spins.
least of our problems. They tried to do spots,
Yeah,
and they botched every single one of their spots. And then Blackman just kicks him and pins him. Raven debuted 2 weeks ago. He's lost 2 weeks in a row.
he's doing the losing streak gimmick.
And then Ross says something like, it's Raven trying to get out of the blocks.
Yes,
Like, wow, what a debut.
This dive that you're talking about, Vinny, he ended up doing a corkscrew dive, but I don't think he meant to.
I had no idea. It was not graceful.
Then Raven beats him up,
Yes!
and Blackman gets his damn screamer sticks,
Beats him
and
up
he
again.
beats Raven up.
So Raven's got beat up twice here.
You know what's more amazing to me than Raven facing Blackman and losing and then getting beat up again 2 weeks after his debut? The fact that it's now the year 2000 and Steve Blackman is still a pushed character on this show.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people didn't have careers that long in WWE?
Most of them.
And Steve Blackman, there's nothing about him that Vince likes, except like he's got a good physique.
He has muscles.
He's got no charisma. God bless the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's got no charisma. He can't cut a promo. He's not that good a worker. He's fine.
He's just there.
But like, he's just been employed forever and they keep pushing him.
He's not losing every week.
No.
He's winning every week.
It's
Yes,
crazy.
It is a mystery. It is a great mystery. So Linda meets with Foley.
Every week, I watch this during Paisley's bedtime. And every week, she comes in at some point during the show. And usually it's, something that I'm just appalled that she's watching. But she walks on in, and it's Mick Foley meeting with Linda. And she walks in, she's all happy, and she sits down on the couch. She starts looking at the TV. And Foley starts interviewing Linda. And Linda starts droning on and on and on. And I swear to God Almighty, Paisley just looks at me and she says, when is that lady going to stop talking?
It's a fair question.
I died.
Well, it's 2019. We're still waiting.
She just talked and talked and talked. I don't even know if she talked. It was like she was like Siri. I'm saying,
Siri's got more life.
oh, forever.
So Linda guessed that Foley was going to ask her about was she involved with what happened to Steve Austin. And I tried my best. I have a vivid imagination. I tried to imagine Linda McMahon behind the wheel of a car, flooring it and trying to run someone over and kill them. Mm-mm. I can't do it.
No.
This is impossible.
That's too much energy exerted.
Too much. She doesn't do anything fast,
Hey, Siri, who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Okay, I this on the web for who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Check it out.
That was way more life than Linda.
Yeah, much.
Not even close.
So now we get into Detective Foley. He notes Steve Austin was ran over at Survivor Series in Detroit. He says, Linda, I found your hotel receipt in Detroit. What?
How?
Mick Foley went to Detroit, like scoured parking lots and trash cans, and found a hotel receipt nearly a year old that proves she was in Detroit. And further, as Linda points out, I'm the CFO, whatever her title is, of this company having a major show. I'm in Detroit all the time. Whenever they have pay-per-views, I'm there all the time.
How about the larger issue? The whole roster was in Detroit.
Yes. Then he asks her, who is selling the most merchandise with Steve Austin gone? And she says, it's The Rock. Chris Benoit and X-Pac versus Chris Jericho and Triple H. Let it be known that Benoit and Hunter fucked something up here. I couldn't believe my eyes, but it happened. X-Pac Heat is now officially a thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny about X-Pac Heat? So they're having this match and it's really good. And then X-Pac tags in and he's really good. He's one of the best workers on the entire show.
Yep.
And he's booed out of the building.
Yeah, passionately.
And I thought, man, like 4 or 5 years later, like if you're a great worker, they just start cheering you no matter what. He was before his time.
That's true, actually. That's a great point. And he's great, and he's getting booed more than literally anyone else on the show. And Ross notes, crowd responding in a very negative way. So Hunter and X-Pac were friends. They avoided each other the entire match until a four-way breaks out at the end. They bump into each other, and Hunter turns around and throws a punch and lays him out, and he's appalled and embarrassed. He laid at his buddy. He didn't mean to.
Didn't we watch like 2 months ago a whole bunch of storylines where Hunter and X-Pac kept getting in fights and screaming at each other and having matches and beating each other up?
Sounds familiar.
That may have happened, yeah.
Yes, it did happen.
So the match continues. Hunter goes to the top rope. Jericho clotheslines X-Pac over the ropes on that side, causing Hunter to straddle the turnbuckle and hurt his testicles. He falls in the ring. I'm thinking, okay, Benoit will hook him in the crossface or hit the headbutt.
That's what should have happened.
Benoit cradled him and pinned him. Of all the things...
Vinny.
Yes.
You thought that Hunter was going to fall into the ring and Chris Benoit was going to submit him with his move?
That's submission. But of all... Hunter never gets pinned, right?
Nope.
He never gets pinned. So he got pinned by a low blow. Now, when I thought about it...
Well, he landed.
I
on
hope
his-
you thought about it.
I thought about it.
Okay, good.
Because the only thing that can hurt Hunter is himself.
Yes.
His huge balls were.
When
Yeah.
I saw this finish,
smashed.
I was like, well, of course that is the finish. He got crotched. He fell into the ring. He got pinned.
No one is allowed to hit their move
No
on him
crossface,
and pin
no
him.
German, no diving headbutt. Of course not. Are you crazy, Vinny?
It made sense.
How long have you been watching
about
this? And by the way, the crowd is dead for this finish because they're all sitting there thinking the same thing we are. He fell off, and that's the finish?
Yes.
Like, they didn't even know what happened. I mean, I was gobsmacked, but I wasn't.
Foley is grilling Edge and Christian in his office, two blondes. So they're being Edge and Christian and being all wacky. Hunter storms in. They're terrified. They shut up. Hunter wants a match with Benoit. Foley gives him one at no mercy. Hunter accepts this and he leaves. And once he's safe and gone, Edge and Christian snap back into being Edge and Christian. They make fun of his name, call him Parcheesi instead of the game, all this stuff.
What a fighting babyface this Hunter is.
Absolutely.
I want this man one-on-one.
He is a babyface
I don't want
right now.
anybody out there.
There's not really been a turn. There's a gradual thing with Kurt, but he's 100% a babyface right now. So Edge and Christian deny having anything to do with Steve Austin. They say they've got to get going. They've got surfing lessons. Hunter storms into his dressing room. Steph makes sure he's okay, and of course he is, of course. But then she notes, "You've had trouble winning matches ever since you asked me to stay in the back." And she leaves, and Hunter throws a little mini tantrum. The Hardys versus Low Down, which I had forgotten was a thing.
What? The Hardys against D-Lo and a random headbanger?
It's the better headbanger.
Chaz.
This is a vast improvement over the headbangers.
Dude, the Hardys come out for D-Lo and the random headbanger. I'm like, what is this? Does this show need to be an hour? Like, we can't find out how to fill 2 hours. We gotta have D-Lo and a random headband. They're low down?
They're a team now.
Yeah.
Their gimmick is they're called low down, and they have matching.
Who's low and who's down? and why?
D'Lo is low.
D'Lo.
Okay.
Chaz is down by default.
Yeah. He's down for whatever.
And they wrestle for
We put
like
more thought into this than they did, I'm sure.
200,000 years. They just beat on Matt and beat on him and beat on him and beat on him. And
think it was that
finally,
bad.
I thought it was
Lita,
mostly fine.
Yes.
I was over this. I just was over it.
That was pretty good.
They're having a fine little match, Brian, until there was a point where Lita was supposed to trip Chaz,
Oops.
and the referee is looking right at him. And so they just wait.
We're sure that's Chaz?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They wait, and they wait, and they wait. And finally, the referee remembers there's a trip spot coming. He turns his back, and then Lita grabs him and trips him. That was the 200,000 hours you're talking about, just that one spot. There's this comeback going on. Okay, it did fall apart at the end. I will say that. Everyone is shouting at each other and pointing. No one has any idea where they're all supposed to be. Finally, the Conquistadors attack. It is Edge and Christian.
Don't give it away, dude. Spoiler alert.
It may be Edge and Christian stealing the gimmick
I'm
of
sure the Conquistadors were back.
stealing the gimmick of masked jobbers from the late 80s who had not been seen in a decade. They come out covered head to toe in gold. They cut off whichever Hardy. Lowdown hits the Powerplex, the Superplex Frog Splash combo. But then Matt hits the leg drop on one of them, and Jeff gets the pin on D'Lo. So the Hardys still win. They're still champions. But then Chaz attacks with the belt afterwards. This feud must continue. Foley interviews Al Snow in a blonde wig. They get nowhere. And Foley is getting very frustrated by his inability to solve this mystery.
See, Al is the Intercontinental Champion, so he's trying to look
God, they
Swedish.
were low
European.
down.
That's right.
European champion.
European, I'm sorry.
Brown formed a tag team in July 2000 with Chaz.
Did you not see the graphic on the screen?
They've been doing this for 3 months now.
Okay, that I did not know.
The team mostly wrestled on Sunday Night Heat and jacked.
There you go.
Shortly after the team formed, Tiger Ali Singh joined the team to become their manager.
Okay, I had that nugget in my brain because when they were talking about Lowdown on SmackDown, I thought it was D'Lo and Tiger Ali Singh.
Oh my God, it gets better. The team was removed from WWF TV in January 2001. Why?
I don't know.
Tiger Ali Singh got hurt. Ah, well, his team. We just can't use him if Singh's hurt. Their manager's out.
They thought enough of. Oh my gosh, he was horrible.
According to Brown, it was the lowest point of his career. Ah, so me and D'Lo agree.
Okay. William Regal joins the announce desk. He is a star among
Yes.
stars.
You can always tell when somebody writes their own Wikipedia. According to Brown,
Okay.
it was the lowest point in his career. Chaz and Singh were later released by WWE, while Brown stayed in WWE's developmental territory, OVW. Notably, Brown wrestled future world champion Batista in a losing effort. Notably? Are you kidding me?
Wow. Oh, God. So William Regal is doing commentary for Al Snow and Test.
Best thing on the show.
Al Snow's gimmick, as Craig explained, is whatever country, he picks a random country in Europe and dresses like this stereotype. So even though he had a blonde wig being Swedish earlier, here he was representing Greece. But because he's Al Snow and dumb, he was not representing Greece, the country.
Yes.
He was representing Greece, the musical.
Right.
Great.
Had a
He had the
T-
best theme of anybody on the show today.
Gosh.
Did anyone check if it was the same thing they used for Deuce and Domino?
I don't think so. That was different.
So he's got the leather jacket on, and I think the leather jacket and the beehive hairdo. I think.
Well, no. The beehive hairdo was on head,
I see.
but he had like a greaser wig on.
Okay, so Regal, as I mentioned, was awesome in this match. He's appalled that Greece, a country with thousands and thousands of years of culture, is being mangled by this buffoon. Test comes out with Trish. Regal's line, which I have remembered for 19 years now, is taking it back and goodness, she's a bunks of wench, isn't she?
Not wrong.
Talks about being polite to a waitress that day, even though she was of a lower standard than him, and because he was polite, it made her day. Al and Test are in there. They're working very hard. Nobody cares.
Most of all, me.
Al hits the Northern Lights bomb, which is his finisher. Ross calls it a power slam. Test kicks out.
It's actually called the snowplow.
He calls it the snowplow. Everyone else who's ever done it calls it the Northern Lights bomb.
Fair enough.
So he grabs head. Trish gets involved. Test bonks into Trish. Al wins with a headshot and gets the pin. William calls this bloody disgraceful that this European champion, who's not even European, how can he represent Europe? He has to stoop to these tactics to win. Regal was awesome.
Let me talk about this next thing here. Eddie Guerrero shows up and meets with China. She says, I've been looking for you all day. Why are you not taking this match seriously? He says, if I ever let you down, why don't you trust me? She says, it's not about trust. He says, it's all about trust. We're getting married. What? Has this been a thing? Have I not been paying attention?
I thought it was, wasn't it?
Since when were they getting married?
It was kind of alluded to in a couple of leaks.
Okay, so well, now they're getting married. And so Eddie freaks out, says, I'm ready to go to the ring. If you want to go, come with me. And he storms out. So the match is Eddie and China versus RTC. So you got to remember all that we've been watching with Eddie Guerrero and China. And he screws this up. He screws that up. He accidentally pins her. He brings her a dog. He brings her flowers. Now they're going to get married. Well, all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, they're doing this match. GTV appears on the screen. Eddie is in the shower with two hoes. He gets out of the shower. China's devastated. She just sits down on the steps, weeping. And RTC beats the hell out of Eddie. They pin him. The key to all of this is, we watch the show today, and like stuff happens out of nowhere that makes no sense. And they do stuff where you just watch and you're like, you are so stupid that you thought you were going to get a different reaction than the one you got. Well, this has been happening for 19 years. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Eddie is a lying cheater who is in the shower with hoes when he's supposed to get married with China. Their relationship is just shattered out of nowhere, okay? Number one. Number two, they thought he would be booed. When he got out of that shower and the first hoe stuck her head out, everybody starts to go crazy. Then the second hoe sticks her head out. They went even crazier. They've never seen a cooler guy than Eddie Guerrero. They're cheering. They're chanting Eddie, the top of their lungs. China's there crying. We're supposed to feel sorry for her. As the fans are just, they're so happy. Then, like, the 20% of the audience are actually women. They start trying to start a China chant. The dudes just blow them out. Eddie! I'm like, what did you people think was going to happen? You absolute morons. What did you expect to happen here? Then Mr. Ass comes down, and he beats up Eddie. And I'm like, and you thought that was going to get over? China's savior is Mr. Ass? We're going to cheer for that guy?
Her shoulder to cry on.
Could you possibly have swung and missed? I mean, Rob did this week, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I'd turn his camera off, Rob, if I were you. I don't want to put him on TV again.
What was this? I was disgusted. They may as well have faced Lowdown.
Well, all I can really add is that the moment they got the biggest reaction.
Yes.
Like this may have worked the way they wanted to. Right? Eddie may have been booed. But when he steps out of that shower and looks back at the women and then looks back, not at the camera, but to the head and says, "Two mamacitas is better." That was the line. That was the one where everyone went crazy. Mm-hmm. Because Eddie is so awesome.
Yes.
You're going to cheer for him just on basis of being Eddie Guerrero. So yes, the men cheered for Eddie. The women cheered for China. There's more men. And everything else went down more or less as you said. I do want to add in between those last two bits with Eddie arriving in the building and then the actual match. We go to WWF New York, where the Road Dogg is holding a rap concert and dance contest. This was cringe.
There was one lady who was trying very, very hard.
Michael Clark Duncan is shown in the crowd. Mick Foley meets with Crash Holly backstage. Notes that
Who's not blonde anymore, by the way.
Crash is no longer blonde. He's going his natural light brown hair color. So Crash leaves.
Dude, of all of the investigations that Foley did, and all of his stupid theories and everything that he did. When Crash Holly shows up and he's growing his hair out, and he says, there's too many blonde people around here. I was like, you didn't pick up on that? That's the guy that ran over Steve Austin.
Plus, he could
It's
barely reach
patently
the pedals.
obvious.
Crash.
Yeah, his name is Crash.
That's a damn good point.
He's growing out his blonde hair.
Screw that. His name was Crash.
I mean, come on.
Oh, he's a horrible detective.
He's hideous.
His name was Crash.
Yes, it could have been an
He's
accident.
a blonde guy named Crash who's now trying to not be a blonde anymore. I mean, could you possibly have more evidence that he's the culprit?
It could have been an accident because he can barely see over the steering wheel.
Thanks, Baron. All right. Okay. So when Crash leaves, Scotty Too Hottie arrives, also a blonde. So Foley interviews him. Foley says, no. That whole time that Crash was being done in Detroit, when Austin got ran over, I was backstage, me and Grandmaster and Rikishi, waiting for The Rock to finish his match so we could all go party.
Right.
And Foley just nods. China leaves the building. Eddie tries to plead his case. China says this ring was the most important thing in her life. She throws it at him. She never wants to see him again. Eddie pleads, I'm nothing without you. China says, you already are nothing. And she drives away. So Eddie starts to look for the ring, but he bumps into badass Billy Gunn.
No, just Mr. Ass.
Mr. Ass calls him a dumb bastard. Says he lost the best thing in his life over two cheap-ass hoes. Tells him to go get the $20 for your ring back. That's as close to China as you'll ever get again. He starts to leave, and Eddie finds a bottle in the street and breaks it over his head. Then he takes the ring, and he leaves. So apparently, Mr. Ass has been secretly pining for China this entire time.
Right.
Well, and the hose, because he seemed to know they were cheap.
Oh, that's a good call.
Look at the detective that I am. Way better than Foley.
All right, so this fucking thing. Angle comes out, does his whole entrance. Kane comes out, does his whole entrance, attacks Angle. So I write Kurt Angle versus Kane.
Boy, are we
Because-
on the same boat.
Because I have a functioning brain. And when I see two men fight each other on a wrestling show, I assume they are fighting.
Right.
No, everyone. They are tag team partners. The match is Kurt Angle and Kane versus Rikishi and The Rock. Now, Angle just got attacked by Kane and got his ass kicked. So he wants nothing to do with this. So Kane wrestles a handicap match against the heavyweight champion of the world and his friend, the big scary sumo wrestler, and beats the fuck out of them. At his peak, Hunter was never this dominant against impossible odds. He just leveled them, man. For like 10 minutes, he got the heat on them, both of them. All I could think was, if Dwayne Johnson had not been The Rock, this would have been the worst title reign. So horrible. Then Kurt is a moron.
Worse than Booker T.
Well,
That's what I thought.
forget about the other show.
It's pretty bad. All I know is Kane beat on him forever because they had so much time to kill. And so Kane puts The Rock in a side chinlock on the mat. I'm like, oh my God. We don't need an overrun. You're winning. You're destroying World Championship Wrestling.
That's right.
We don't need to sit here in a chinlock on the mat.
So Kurt, being a moron, decides, now that Kane has beat them, I'm going to ask this man who just punched me in the face repeatedly to tag me in. So Kane grabs him, chokeslams him up into the air and down into the ring. He has now killed 3 men. He has killed the gold medal winner. He has killed the heavyweight champion of the earth. And he has killed the big scary sumo wrestler. Then he just leaves. Why did he bother coming out?
He did all he had to do.
So Kane leaves. They beat up Angle for a while. Rock hits the rock bottom. Rikishi hits a sit-down splash. Rikishi pins Kurt Angle. This is to build Kurt Angle versus The Rock at the pay-per-view. What on earth? What on earth happened here?
There's a lot of that on this show. What's going on?
I was so-
Who's low down? It started there, really.
The whole show screwed up when they showed up. That's not the end of the show.
This seriously was like we missed 10 shows. You know what I'm saying? China and Eddie are breaking up because he's a philanderer, and Kane and Angle are fighting each other, but they're a team, and Rikishi's pinning Kurt, and Crash is the culprit. There's so much stuff going on. Then Rikishi does the show closing promo. Has he ever cut a promo on television that's more than like 10 seconds long?
Well, the answer is no. And if you watch this promo, you would understand why. So Foley comes out. He says all the evidence points to The Rock. It was his rental car. And they add, they found your DNA in that car.
What?
What was he doing? What was The Rock doing in his rental car? That's creepy. Then, despite the fact that all the evidence points to Rock, Foley says, I declare The Rock not guilty. It was you. And he points at Rikishi. And he says, Scotty said he was backstage partying with Rikishi. But Rikishi had not even debuted in the WWF yet. What was he doing there except being The Rock's friend and family? He had access to The Rock's keys. He had access to The Rock's car. And I must note, he says, the mirrors in that rental car were configured for a very large man.
The Rock's not a very large man.
A year later, Mick Foley went to Hertz and said, excuse me, I need to examine car 54 or whatever.
Where are you?
And he looks at these mirrors and says, God damn, I'm a big man. These mirrors are way out of position even for me. This driver must have been very huge.
So knowing that, Vinny, he decided to interview Crash Hall
and Scotty Tuhati.
Linda McMahon.
Linda.
Deborah.
This is... Dude.
This is stupid storytelling.
Yeah.
So, Rikishi confesses, and we get the Rikishi promo. And when I say the Rikishi promo, I honestly don't think he ever cut another one after this.
Nor should he.
No, it's.
I mean, honest to God,
It's not horrible.
the reveal that Rikishi was the driver was so stupid and so hated back then. But I have to give them credit because nowadays you see all sorts of stupid things and swerves and surprises, and nobody ever explains anything. At least Rikishi came out and said, listen, I ran this dude over for The Rock.
I did it for The Rock.
I did it for the Island Boys. Yes. Because the Island Boys, he says, they never got a chance. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? The Rock never got a chance? There's one standing there right now with the belt on his shoulder.
Alpha and Sika were tag team champions. Jimmy Snuka challenged Bob Backlund all the time.
Yokozuna.
Thank God for Rikishi. Roman Reigns would never be around.
That's true.
So Rikishi did it for the Island Boys. His company has always been about the Great White Hope, he says. The Rock had been held back. And so he had to do what he had to do. He says, you know what? I take full responsibility. You being you the way you are today, Rock, it's good enough for me. I don't want any help. I want y'all to know The Rock had nothing to do with this. But before I go, I want y'all to know one more time. I ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. And to tell you the truth, I'd do it again. He leaves. That's the end of the show.
The end of the dancing fat
It
guy.
wasn't a horrible promo, but this is a year-long storyline involving the biggest star in WWE. Who ran over Steve Austin? And at the end of the day, Rikishi ran him over for the Island Boys. Now, of course, at the end of the day, spoiler alert, Hunter is actually behind this. We'll get to that later. But that's the story they told on this show.
I think Crash actually could have cut a better promo here.
I'm sure.
With the same motivation, by the way. He's a big fan of Island Boys.
I was going to say, I don't think it's the same motivation. No, he'd do an even easier promo. Us little guys never get a chance.
It's true.
I'm sick of these big dudes. I ran him over. Then I won the hardcore title 45 times, so it was great. You ready for your music?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
The finishes on this show were pin in a hardcore match after all sorts of weapons, clean pin in a regular rules match, clean pin in a tag match, pin in a tag match despite interference, pin in a tag match after one guy is caught cheating on his partner, pin in a tag match when one guy who is not in the title match kills the two guys who are in the title match and a random third guy, and then the random third guy pins a guy who is in the title match.
Cool.
It was going fine until the end there, man.
Yeah. Just like Nitro.
In some ways. So Nitro, everyone.
Let me tell you all about this Nitro. Brisbane, Australia. This was, in fact, the week that Hoovie lost his mind.
Oh,
That's right.
They were at a hotel, and Hoovie...
lost his mind. That's a good way to put it.
So, I'm not throwing out any accusations here.
Sure.
I'm just telling you what people
got a lawyer on speed dial
believe. No, this is just what people believe happened. Okay? So, apparently, there was a big thing in Australia at the time of smoking PCP-laced cigarettes.
Oh, my.
Okay? And I guess Hoovie told people, I thought it was just a cigarette. I didn't know that it was laced with PCP. Well, whatever happened, happened. And he goes in the hotel, and he goes absolutely nuts, and he tears off all of his clothes, and he runs around naked, and he proclaims that he is God. Someone sees this and presumes it's not normal behavior.
Sure.
They call the authorities.
Friendly for Hoovie, isn't it?
The cops show up. Apparently, this was like one of those deals where, you know, the little guy, all messed up, has superhuman strength.
PCP will do that to you.
He's like beating up a bunch of these cops.
Naked.
And the cops then get out the spray.
Pepper spray.
And apparently, they actually did a legit spot, where the cop goes to spray the pepper spray, but Hoovie ducks and he sprays another officer.
Aha.
Yes. So they finally get him tied up or whatever. They take him out, goes to the police station. I guess everything goes back to normal. And they say, listen, we're not going to charge you. We arrested you. We're not going to charge you, but we need to deport you.
Fair.
All right, fine. So he flies back to the States, and shortly after getting back to the States, he's fired. But it's WCW. And so they announce Salvatore Guerrero has been fired. Because I guess all Mexicans look the same.
Sure.
Eddie gets word, he freaks out, he calls Chavo. My God, what did you do? Why did you
this
get
part.
fired? Chavo has to explain, I'm not fired. What's going on here? And that was the end of Hoovie.
This company died.
Yeah. This was the week there was talk of a sale.
I had forgotten the Salvador Guerrero announcement. Oh, my God.
And this
Well,
was a much better show than usual.
here's the thing. When we closed last week's review, we noted it was the end of the Russo shows, so it had to get better. And one of us said, no, I've heard it doesn't get better for a while. Wrong!
Well, I didn't say that. Maybe I did. But it was
listen,
it was definitely better
The
this
point
week.
is, it is a night and day. It's a billion times
Yes,
better.
but it actually gets good here in a few months.
Okay, it's not good.
It's not it's
It's fine.
I watched Hell in a Cell.
It's better. This is better
And this
than
was
that.
the first show. I guess I watched Raw, but you know, I still have Hell in a Cell on my mind, and I watched this show. And until the main event, I thought, "Fine, I'm fine.
Yes,
I can make it to the end."
this is a breathable show.
But then they did the main event, and I was just filled with fury.
I also remembered that this Australian tour, because it's a 2-week tour, so 2 Nitros and 2 Thunders they did down there.
Yes,
And even at the time, I don't think we knew the Russo era was a disaster. I don't think we didn't know how near the end was, but we at the time knew these Australian shows were way better than what they had been doing. The crowd is huge.
Yeah.
They're into everything. Everyone comes off like a star.
Mm-hmm.
They should have, from this point forward, they should have never gone home. They should
well,
have become World Australian Wrestling.
this
And
was
yes, I know that makes no sense.
this was the period where there were all the rumors that they were going to be sold, and there was talk of them being sold to Eric. There was talk of them being sold to Vince. And apparently Russo figured, well, if it's sold to either of these people, I'm out. Mm-hmm. And so he did not go to Australia. And so they had 4 non-Russo shows. And so far, the first one is much better.
They spent a month in Australia?
No, they did 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Jeff Jarrett arrives at the building dressed as 1980s Sting,
So it wasn't perfect.
all teal and orange. Hey, Jeff Jarrett impersonating Sting is much better than Jeff Jarrett being the chosen one for the 400th show
You
in a
know,
row.
that's true, Vinny, but we watch the 1980s Sting, and this was the worst impersonation of a wrestler I've ever seen.
I mean, he's a bad Sting.
Hoovie in the hotel, I'm not sure, could have accurately recreated the Sting character if you would have put makeup on him while he was running around naked and proclaiming himself to be God.
We get clips of beautiful Australian scenery and koala bears and kangaroos. And then we get a match, a wrestling match to open a show. Elix Skipper versus Rey Mysterio Jr. in front of a great big crowd with enough time to have a wrestling match that just has a wrestling match finish and everyone going crazy. I was in heaven, and it wasn't even that good.
Now, Elix Skipper is very green, but Rey Mysterio is very great.
That's true.
And so Rey did everything he could. There was one horrible botch where Elix tried to do a rope walk into a Hurricane Rana, but instead he did a Rikishi sit-down splash, and Rey went the wrong way and almost tore out both of his knees and
Rey
was killed.
Almost torn in half by this.
Yes. So the other positives were Stevie Ray is just randomly doing commentary this week.
Yes.
And he's not great, but he's funny.
I disagree.
So I'm cool with that. And Tigress did commentary, and she was fine. She was better than most. I'd rather have her running SmackDown than Cole.
Sure, actually, that's fine. So, yes, the all I could think watching that, and I realized it was 5 years later, maybe he practiced a lot, but Elix Skipper did this rope walk Rana thing and nearly cut Rey in half, and he almost nearly died. All I could think was, this dude tried this move on a cage.
He didn't try it on a cage. He performed it.
Performed on a cage. I would have never jumped again. I would have 1 foot on the ground at all times the rest of my life after this move. So they're doing this match, and Tigress is on commentary when randomly she's attacked by Tori Wilson. We're watching Tori Wilson and Tigress fight. They cut back to the ring, and you just see bodies flying on the apron and the ring and the ropes. I went back and watched this like frame by frame because they cut to in the middle. I think Rey was in the apron yelling at Tigress, and Elix did like the springboard clothesline to hit him.
I see.
So they both just fall down randomly. And then Elix wins with the worst move ever, which here they are calling the play of the week.
It's more devastating than play of the day.
Well, that's true, I guess. You put your leg on top of the guy's head and you grab his arm, you flip him over, and he does the somersault and you pin him.
Yeah.
He lands on your leg like it's a pillow.
Yeah. It's a horrible move.
It's dumb.
It's not Elix's fault. Lots of guys have used it. It sucks.
You can only hit it every 7 days, though. It's play of the week.
Right. Yeah. The Boogie Nights are backstage and with the franchise. I guess they're having a conversation about Tori Wilson, but they're drowned out by the ring announcer. Like the PA
The audio was
announcer.
horrible on the show.
Something was badly messed
It
up.
was terrible.
The audio was horrible, and there were a lot of things where what should have been a 10-second segment took 3 seconds instead. So I had no idea what was happening. We see the Natural Born Thrillers walking. After the break, we get a Natural Born Thrillers promo. Mike Sanders has started to dress up and looks a billion times better. He's got slacks, he's got a nice shirt, he's got cool sunglasses. He was out there before in like a ratty t-shirt and gym shorts, looking like a below average guy at the
he
gym.
finally got paid.
I guess that's it. So Sanders is the new commissioner now. I don't know how that happened. I don't care.
Russo assigned him. He says he cannot fail.
All right. So his first act as commissioner is to book a down underwear match between Tori Wilson and Tigress. In case you are confused by this, he explains they will start in, I think he said camo gear, which isn't quite true, but whatever. And whoever is stripped to their underwear first loses.
I just thought they had to wrestle in down underwear.
Like goose down?
Yeah.
It's Australia, it'd be very warm. So Sanders is promising people will see the end of Goldberg Street when the cat interrupts. They bleep the word ass on this show. I don't know if that's an Australian thing or what. So Cat tries to play nice and says we can all work together. You've got the Natural Born Thrillers. I'll bring out the Misfits in action. We'll have a dance contest. Sanders falls for this. All right, dumb heel, that's fine. A dance contest starts, and then very quickly, the good guys attack them and beat them up. And Cat called him either a dickhead or a shithead. I'll bleed. We go backstage for, I swear to God, a 3-second shot of the Boogie Nights standing 3 inches away from mirrors practicing their dance moves.
The dancing dildos dance.
I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. I went back and watched it, and I laughed, and I laughed. I gifted it, I laughed, and I laughed. I could watch these two morons dance in front of these mirrors, thinking they're all cool, for a long time. Stacy Keebler arrives at the building. We've got a Jarrett Sting skit. I don't know who. I assume the gimmick was that Jarrett hired some guy to go along with his act. But there's a guy, he's got a lanyard. He's trying to find Sting. He looks into the camera and asks, "Where's the stinger?" And Jarrett comes in dressed as Sting. He says, I'm Sting. I'm the one, the Sting when people cared about him, but I've lost my heart. I've lost my smile. I'm all finished. He says something to the ladies in catering that says, no, you're right, I got a match, and he leaves.
That was dumb.
Me or him?
Mostly him.
Okay. Mark.
Okay. Allow me.
Right?
Okay.
So the show is not perfect.
Right.
It's the Dancing Dildos against Jindrak and O'Hare. And they work over Disco. And they cut off Jindrak. I guess the Dildos are heels. Is that right?
Sure.
No,
Debatable.
because Sanders,
Yeah, they're definitely heels.
I don't know what's going on.
All four of these guys may be heels.
I don't know. But anyway, the point of this is they do this match. Ref takes a bump. O'Hare's sent outside. Second ref.
The ref takes a great bump.
Yes.
Charles Robinson.
Second ref runs in. Disco hits a chart buster. Pins Jindrak. They become the new tag team champions. This building goes crazy. They're jumping up and down. They're popping like crazy. They're screaming. Disco's holding up the belts. They're champions. Sanders comes out and he says, ref's knocked out. It's unfair. I run a tight ship. You two need to be disqualified. So then everybody is just confused. The announcers don't know if the match is over. They don't know if it's title change. They don't know if it's DQ. They don't know what's going on. And then finally, Sanders says, restart the match. So it wasn't even a DQ like you originally said. They restart the match. Thrillers got the pin. I was like, can't you just give the fans like a happy ending? Do you have to ruin it? What was wrong with giving Disco and Alex Wright the tag titles? They just got together as a team. The fans were totally into it. Why did you have to do this stupid stuff?
My favorite part of this match is Disco got the hot tag. He's running wild, and Tony proclaims, I can't believe it. Disco is looking great.
I thought this match, up till the fake finish, was the best thing on Nitro in forever and ever and ever. Like, since spring, probably, at least, if there's anything good then even. It's a really, really fun tag match. Alex Wright looks great. Disco looks great. I was watching this match. If you had been watching this match in 2000, everyone watching thought, Sean O'Hare is going to be a giant star.
Yep.
And I'm watching it back in 2019. Even though I know the answer, I am still trying to figure out how Sean O'Hare was not a giant star.
Both of them had a ton of potential.
He
for this
looks
apparently.
so awesome here. Even though he's the greenest guy you ever saw. He just looks like a giant pile of money. And it didn't happen. It's so weird. The crowd's into everything. It's a great... in the end, the Boogie Nights did make the babyface comeback, and they got the win. Charles Robinson took an awesome bump for a Sean O'Hare clothesline. This was such a win. And then there's just all the mess at the end that let all the air out of the balloon.
So depressing.
It was.
And it also goes to show that, like, Disco and, I mean, Alex Wright was really good, but, like, he's not one of the best workers in the world. Jindrak and O'Hare, they're green. I mean, you just let four guys go in there in WCW in 2000 and let them have a wrestling match, and lo and behold, you can actually get a wrestling match that's good. When you don't mess it up with all this stupidity. Stacy walking. Goldberg arrives. Australia footage.
Stacy walks for, I swear to God, 2 steps.
Jarrett with a Stinger MasterCard. I'm like, that was 1, 2, 3, 4 segments in a row that were like 2 seconds and pointless.
The MasterCard thing at the end, you know how WWE always has the awkward pause at the end of every promo?
They had it here.
This is the opposite of that. He finishes, he starts to smile, and they cut away before his corners of his mouth even go up. Madden then interviews Stacy in the ring. So Stacy comes out in her dress, and they've got the prosthetic belly to indicate she's pregnant. And Stevie Ray says she's starting to show. Tony Schiavone, thousands of miles from his wife and family, mutters, she can show me anything she wants. And Stevie Ray, the gentleman, Tony, please! I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. So Madden's first question is, Stacy Keibler, who's the father of your baby? And before she can react, Stevie Ray barks, yeah, suckers got snow. This is the best Nitro in 2000. Not even close.
So earlier we had the interrogation of Mick Foley and Deborah. Now we've got Mark Madden and Stacy. Who is the bigger bastard is the question.
Well,
Mark Madden says,
Mark's bigger.
is there a reason you won't tell us who the dad is? Is it because you don't remember, or you were inebriated the night it happened? Is it because you've been with so many men you just don't remember? You thought that you could call her into the ring, ask her this line of questioning, and she was just going to tell you who the daddy is? Well, anyway, it didn't work. And David runs out.
She starts to leave. David comes out. Before David comes out, Stacy says she has a message for David, which is that he's confused. He's blaming people who are innocent. She made a mistake. She's sorry. She still loves him. So then David comes out and they start talking. She tells him what he saw on that tape was innocent flirting. Well, now I really want to see this tape because David saw it and thought she got pregnant doing it. So I want to know what gray area.
Well, David's a crazy idiot.
That's true. So David starts talking about how he wants Stacy to have a blood test to see how the father is. And Madness Clean doesn't work that way. When suddenly, you talk about missing shows. That 70s crowbar comes out.
Wait a second. You skipped over the part where David reaches in his pocket and pulls out a needle. He's going to do the blood test in the middle of the ring.
I didn't even know.
We
this,
have to
honestly.
confirm that Stacy is Stacy, I guess.
I guess.
It's part of this pregnancy angle.
So I called him that as a joke. I didn't know why Crowbar had this like velour suit on.
Yeah.
But yes, the gimmick now is that he and Mike Awesome are friends and apparently a tag team. So David beats up Crowbar, Mike Awesome saves, and that's the end of all that. Tigress goes for a walk. Tori goes for a walk. Pam interviews Jarrett Sting. Her question is, she talks about how he's imitating Sting and says, "You're not fooling anyone, you bloke." Does she think that's an insult? No one smartened her up to what bloke means. It's like fella. So Jarrett promises he will be in the ring signing autographs for $15 a pop.
I guess you couldn't call him the C word.
Well, no,
that's
Greg.
an English thing. I'm sorry. Never mind.
I don't know what the Aussie term they would use. Sam Greco shown at ringside. K1 fighter, kickboxing champion. Tigress versus Tori Wilson in the down underwear match.
This match was appalling.
Yeah.
It's so horrible. And they just have a horrible match. And then Tori ends up in her underwear. And it's so horrible, I could not possibly care less. Shane runs down, covers Tori. He goes to franchise her ass. Conan makes the save. There will be no ass franchising on this show, according to Conan. Mr. Peel the Potatoes. And that's the segment.
All right, then.
That's what happened.
Okay. Vito meets with Mike Sanders. They bicker a bit, and Vito agrees to any match Sanders wants. Jarrett comes out for his promo. He has an introduction that he forces David Pinzer to read. And he gets to the end, and Pinzer starts to leave, and Jarrett stops him and says, "Do the last part." And Pinzer looks at his notes and looks up and says, "Give it up for the Stinger, folks." And he leaves. That made me laugh. So Jarrett, as Sting, promises to retire after Halloween Havoc after Jarrett beats his ass. But until then, he's going to cash in while he has the chance. He's going to sign autographs here in this ring.
This show is not perfect.
So Sting repels from the ceiling behind him.
The real Sting.
The real Sting.
Comes down to face Jeff Jarrett.
As Sting.
Fake Sting.
Fake Sting. Because they're going to wrestle the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have really a match. Most matches in 2019 don't go as long as this brawl did. I will say Jarrett did such a great job of doing a horrible Stinger splash, which I think was intentional.
What's going on with this child?
Is it?
I thought it was the cat.
No, it's definitely the child.
Very
She's
sad
very
baby.
upset about something. Probably hungry.
So
Probably wants some boobs.
Vinny, carry on.
So Jarrett suplexes Sting through a table.
Now Vinny's lost.
I'm just confused.
Dude, all you need to know is
Sting is the fiend. Sting knows how's the table.
Sting puts this guy in a sharpshooter. Jarrett furiously taps. Dude's running to break it up. And I'm like, this is why you're getting a 0.15 buy rate. I'm supposed to care about this match after this?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Jarrett is backstage selling. Steiner runs up and says, "What happened?" Jarrett says, "Stinger jumped me." Steiner says, "I'll take care of him."
Man, what a crew.
So Steiner does not watch the show.
Poor Jeff Jarrett. I mean, he's hurting.
He's with
His
Deja.
friend comes up. His friend wants to know what happened. Jared says, a guy jumped me. And Scott Steiner, his friend, goes, well, I'm going to go beat his ass. Two guys that like each other here on the show.
Friends. After some very needless promos, we get a tag match. Kevin Nash and Mike Sanders versus Booker T and the Cat.
It's not as good as that Benoit tag on the other show.
It was not.
I think it was head-to-head, actually.
It was very basic. The highlight was the announcers never having any idea who the legal man on either team was.
Sanders looked terrible in this match. I mean, I guess they must think that he's an awesome promo because he's a terrible worker that makes him above average. That's the only thing that I can figure.
So Cat pins him with a feliner. So then the Cat, the babyface, gets in Tyson Fury's face. No, sorry, Sam Greco's face. But we can't focus on that because Mike Sanders attacks the Cat and Scott Steiner attacks Booker. Steiner vows to kick Booker's ass at Halloween Havoc, and then he calls out Sting, and then nothing happens. Pamela Paulshock asks David what he was thinking out there trying to draw Stacy's blood. David challenges Mike Awesome to a hardcore match. Goldberg is warming up. Pam interviews Vito.
Oh, this guy.
It was fine.
It was awesome.
It was my biggest chance in history. My chance to take out the man.
Yeah.
I sweat no man. Goldberg and I are friends.
I don't fear nobody. I got no wishes with Goldberg. He's just the guy across the ring tonight.
We got business in the ring tonight. May the best man win.
We're going to bust heads and then shake hands afterwards. Vito rules, everyone. And then we got Vito versus Goldberg, which was exactly what it should have been. A great 30-second match. Vito kicked him once or twice.
They literally did one high spot.
Goldberg speared him and jackhammer and pinned him.
On 2/3.
Perfect. If they had just left it here, this would have been so fine. But no. Goldberg starts to leave. Johnny the Bull attacks Vito. Goldberg sees this, goes back, spears Johnny, jackhammers him, pins him. The ref counts 3. This also counts as the win streak. Then Chronic comes out.
What happened here?
Chronic
I
comes
will be
out.
happy to explain when Vinny's done.
And nothing happens.
Well, I don't know why Chronic came out.
Okay.
I presume both of them will be beaten next week. But I guess, basically, the storyline is he has to break 176. Okay?
And they don't want to wait 176 shows.
Well, I mean, at the rate they're going, they're due like a couple of house shows a week.
Get it by Christmas.
It would have been 2003 before he broke 176. So now they got to figure out, we got to be like 10 guys on each show.
But that didn't happen here. Chronic came out.
He
Their
beat 2 guys.
Their music was playing.
I know, but he beat Vito and Johnny.
They went to commercial and they moved on from Chronic.
I know, he'll probably beat Chronic, both of them, on Thunder for 2 more wins. He's just got to beat as many guys as he can every single show now.
Mike Awesome versus David Flair. This is better than most hardcore matches because they wrestled a lot and then would do a hardcore spot once in a while. Great. Crowd loved Awesome. He looked great here. And he won with a giant top rope splash and the Awesome Bomb.
Yeah.
This is a very fun show up to this point. So at some point, a Mercedes had pulled up. And Ric Flair was inside it, but he waited to get out until this exact moment.
He thought maybe David would win.
I guess. Wanted to give him a fighting chance. Ric Flair gets out. He's got his haircut, so it's all spiky. And he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. Casual Ric Flair is the weirdest thing ever. It's bizarre. He comes out. Awesome's going to powerbomb David through a table. Flair talks him out of it. He's had enough. Awesome realizes, you know what? He has had enough. And he sets him down. He gives Flair the peace sign, and he leaves. So Flair is trying to get David to talk to him. David slaps him, tells him to stay away. They go to the back.
Flair goes, don't do it, Awesome. You got the win. You got the victory. He's had enough. You've got kids. Awesome goes, all right. And he left.
He did.
Flair talked some sense into the guy.
He appealed to
That's
his
what
logic.
happened.
And Awesome saw the error of his ways. Major Guns is begging Kwee Wee for a new outfit, but Lance kidnaps her. We have a Team Canada promo where Lance buries Australians. Apparently there was some gimmick with the gymnastics equipment at the Olympics in Australia that year.
Yes.
And they do the Canadian anthem, and the filthy animals interrupt.
Lance faces Conan.
In a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't bad.
At all.
Until the end. Lance works him over, misses the big splash, Conan comeback, Lance selling great for everything. And then they go to the corner, and they just stand there for a second. Time stands still. And then they do like a corner to corner, And finally, Shane McMahon, or Shane Douglas.
It would have been no more weird.
Yeah, franchise shows up. And
Shane gets in the ring.
somebody missed a cue somewhere.
I'd like to think so.
Because Shane jumps in the ring right in front of the referee, and the referee sees him and like has to turn his back.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shane hits Conan and flees.
With a chain.
Yes,
With a chain.
With a chain. Lance covers Conan, but Conan kicks out.
Yes.
And then Lance gives him a dragon screw and puts him in the cloverleaf for the clean win.
Mm-hmm.
What was this?
Here I wrote, what the hell was that?
We can't leave good enough alone and just do a match.
Conan looked like he dropped like 30 pounds.
He did. He
He
was
was moving a lot better.
He did, and he was still huffing and puffing by the end of this.
That's true.
He was also wearing a Vince Carter jersey, which is notable because it's 2019. Vince Carter is still a professional basketball player. That's ridiculous. Sting goes for a walk. Steiner does some curls. And then this main event.
This was where, listen, the show was better. It wasn't perfect.
This was
where it fell off the cliff.
This is a 2000 WCW match.
It was like, did Russo just fly in? And like, give me that script.
Russo was watching the show and picked up his phone frantically. He called, no.
I got a new main event.
There's too many clean finishes on the show. So Steiner versus Sting. Jeff Jarrett comes out to be the surprise special ref. Bryan's already done. So the bell rings, and Sting can see where this is going. He just starts fighting both guys.
He immediately just begins running wild on two men.
Yes.
He's beaten up Steiner. He's beaten up Jarrett. He's ping-ponging them around. I'm like, what in God's name? And then finally, after beating up special referee Jeff Jarrett, finally Steiner cuts him off, and he goes for a pin. And Jarrett drops down and does a fast count, but then stops his count when Sting kicks out. I was like, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. I just can't take it anymore.
Well, it got worse. So yes, at least Steiner was yelling him to count faster. They tried that. So a second ref runs out. Steiner kills that guy. Steiner's using a pipe. All this is in there. So they double team Sting for a while. They beat him up outside the ring. They hit him with a pipe. And here's what's supposed to happen. They'll throw Sting into the ring. Steiner will make a cover. Jarrett will try to count. But the cat will pull Jarrett out of the ring. That's what's supposed to happen. But the cat is very, very late.
Very.
So Steiner makes a cover. And then Jeff Jarrett, the heel referee, has to count slow.
Yes. Classic.
Amazing. Breathtaking. Just astonishing. So eventually, Cat attacks Jarrett, and now Booker's the referee, and Booker and Steiner are doing stuff, and Booker kicks Steiner, Sting has a death drop, and Sting wins. Okay, whatever. I don't care. That was a bad main event, Bryan. I will concede to that point.
You know, the only thing that I could figure, I actually don't have the attendance, but the only thing that I can figure is like there were the building must have been big. And so everybody mistimed how long it would take to run down the aisle.
Yeah.
Because everybody was late on the show.
If only they could have rehearsed something.
It's like one guy after another. Shat's looking down going, I can make that half
200-yard run.
15 seconds. All right, here I go. Now Jeff Jarrett's counting backwards. He's going to have to count so slow. Are you ready? That main event sucked. I don't know if I made it clear enough. That main event sucked. It was stupid. It sucked. Everything about it was dumb. I hated it. Here you go.
The finishes on this show were clean pin.
What?
Yeah.
It's caught off guard.
Clean pin that is reversed into a double pin after an attack by several men.
Oh, the clean pin was reversed. I should have known. Go ahead.
I wrote the Ray and Elix was a clean pin. Hey, remember the play of the week?
Yeah, it was.
All right. Clean pin that is reversed into a double pin after attack by several men. Victory in a down underwear match. Clean pin. Pin in a match that was never announced or agreed to but still counts. Pin in a hardcore match. Johnny the Bull. Win after submission, or win via submission after a guy interferes, but it doesn't seem to be very effective. And then pin in a match after all sorts of shenanigans with refs who are biased against one guy or the other.
That may have been a clean pin record.
For Nitro.
Yeah.
All over this place.
Because a couple of those, I don't think you mentioned clean pin, even though basically, like the hardcore match, you can have a clean pin.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you didn't mention
The
it.
down underwear match was a clean victory.
Yeah, it was clean. All right. We're out of time, everybody. Hey, I want to mention this coming Saturday, I'm going to be doing a book signing at the Barnes & Noble in Northgate, just outside of Seattle. Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m. They're going to have books, so if you want to grab a book when you're
I hope
there.
so.
Yeah, you can grab
Oh,
one.
I mean yours. Oh,
Otherwise,
yeah.
it'd just be called
they'll
Noble.
have this book right here. 100 Things WWE fans should know and do before they die. Got that, Rob? Got it. All the other producers get a good shot of the book when I plug it. Saturday, 2 p.m., Northgate Barnes & Noble. It's going to be a great time, so make sure you show up. And that's it, everybody. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Adios.